Well, fellow International Rescue Cadets, welcome to the second mission on Before the Storm. It was brought to my attention by one of my followers on Twitter, Cameron. How you doing, by the way, buddy? That ITV released yet another teaser trailer for the up-and-coming series Thunderbirds Are Go, entitled Thunderbirds Are Go, Introducing the World. And I'd seen snippets of the new version of Tracy Island before, and some leaked footage that got put out months ago, but to see the final finished product in HD video format, and keeping in perspective that these are miniaturized model sets, making it look massive and epic in scale is just something that's just mind-blowing. But then again, I have to keep in mind this was built by the same workshop that did Lord of the Rings and Avatar. And when you've got that kind of professionalism, quality and craftsmanship being done to give you the scale and the scope of what they're doing in regards to the visuals and the imagery of what is going to be present in this 50th anniversary series for Thunderbirds, I think it's safe to say this series is going to be memorable already. And of course, we've seen the updated designs of the vehicles before. But what is not being told to us is if the craft are going to be models or CG. We know the characters are going to be CG, and I want to get into that in a little bit. What I like that they've done in regards to particularly the Tracy household is little things that they've done. The little model of the original video phone is on Jeff Tracy's desk, practically unchanged. Other little nods to the original, like the lights on the wall where Scott would line up and then get twirled round to go up to Thunderbird 1. The start of Thunderbird 1's launch sequence is there. You note that the painting that Virgil would scale down for Thunderbird 2 is up on the second floor. And in some weird way, the house kinda looks reminiscent of how they did things with the 2004 movie, where the kitchen and dining area is open-aired, but the living arrangements and sleeping quarters and Jeff Tracy's office is on the upper level. There's still no word as to whom is actually voicing Jeff Tracy in this, but we do know, and when I say we, and I should say they do know, excuse me, Jeff Tracy is in the cast, according to what has been said on the Gerry Anderson Appreciation Facebook group, but no one is giving away anything. And it's when you see the silos of where what we can only presume is where Thunderbirds 1 and 3 sit respectively before going through the launch process, we notice this time around that Thunderbird 1 is actually going to travel up the track towards its launch position from underneath the swimming pool, as opposed to what it did 50 years ago by actually scaling down a track. And the way the pool just pulls back, I still think it probably would have been better if the pool was much further away from the house, kind of like what they did with the 2004 movie. And this is one of the few things I actually kind of agree with that movie, because it's pretty much been told that if a rocket ship actually lifted off from beneath a silo that close to living arrangements, it would melt the windows. And what they did in the 2004 movie was have a secondary pool that was much further away from the house, and that actually does make sense. But again, it's just looking at the detailing that the designers and the model builders have put into making these sets, these model sets, look like these, you know, almost look like an underground rocket ship silo launch pad. You look at these things and you think, that looks real. The only thing they did not show us in regards to the rest of the underbelly of Tracy Island is Thunderbird 2 silo and how the launch sequence would go about that. Now that was actually shown at San Diego Comic-Con last year, but for whatever reason, though that, you know, video footage of that panel and conference never made it to YouTube, and pictures aside from what was officially released for Tracy Island never actually made it onto any website. You know, we didn't see around the island. We didn't see that. From what we do know, from what I've read, the palm trees do fall back like they did 50 years ago. But again, other than what was released officially, we still have no idea of what's being done for Thunderbird 2. Now, and again, it's just the imagery. When you just see, you know, the landscape and the sky, you think that all of that looks real. But then again, you're bringing wetter digital into this as well, and that says a lot in regards to imagery. And it's just like the lights cascading out of the Tracy household as you're seeing, you know, nightfall on that island. Characters I want to get into. Now, the only characters that have been shown thus far is all 5 of the Tracy brothers and Brains's updated design. Now, in regards to the brothers, it's pretty much just having the faces of the marionette scanned into a computer and basically just giving them some minor digital enhancements. But in terms of what they look like, we are instantly going to recognize them from their 60s counterparts. Alan's got some minor little tweaks in there. Some people compared him to looking like a very young Sean Penn. Those are some people's comments. Make of that what you will. A lot of people have made, you know, some comparisons that the Tracy brothers now look as though they were auditioning for One Direction, and it's not, and it doesn't suit them. I think what some people need to keep in mind, and this is just an objectional viewpoint, that is just a reflection of the times that we're in. One Direction are a very, you know, popular and hot commodity brand entertainment group in this day and age, and they attract a lot of attention. They make a lot of money, and a lot of people, you know, like to go for that kind of look. To me, they kind of just have got very similar looks to their, like I say, to their 1965 counterparts. I mean, Scott looks virtually unchanged. Gordon doesn't really look that much different. Virgil basically just has darker hair now. Alan just looks a little bit younger, because from what Rosamund Pike has let slip in an interview, I forget reading where, so please don't quote me on this, is that most of, if not most of the cast are going to be teenagers. Now, with Alan, that's not really a huge deal, because in the original he was 21 years old when that was first played out. It'll probably be maybe like 3 of them being teenagers, with probably John and Scott being the eldest, because they were the eldest in the original version. So I don't really know in that regard. No clues as to how the actors are going to sound like their respective characters, but we can only just wait and see what happens. And then we get to the subject of Brains's redesign. Now, Kevin Novak, please do correct me if I'm wrong in regards to the pronunciation of that, stated in an interview he was going to voice an Asian, an Asian-like sounding Brains. for me, as long as they stay true to the character, you know, being a very gifted engineer with just a strong, solid mind for improving his inventions, I got no issues with this whatsoever. And plus, it's being more politically correct for in this 21st century world. So I'm all for that. I think that's cool. Again, no word on who's voicing Jeff Tracy and what Jeff Tracy will look like. And a lot of people want Shane Rimmer, who was the original voice for Scott Tracy in the original series, and who went on to do a few James Bond movies. He was also one of the space commanders in Superman 2, and he was the senior water watchtower officer in Batman Begins. And funny thing, I remember seeing the name come up saying Shane Rimmer. I'm like, wait, that rings a bell. And I'm looking at it like, wait, that's Scott Tracy? Damn. But yeah, fun things to look forward to. I'm still skeptical as to how they're going to keep the tone and excitement and the plot progression and scale in comparison to the original series by taking a 44-minute format and condensing it down to 22. But I think we have to remember in the 50 years since the original Thunderbirds was screened, people don't have the same attention span as they once did. And according to the A-log, and only quoting what his father said, the average attention span of a human being is 7 seconds. Now, not being a mathematician myself, but trying to times 7 seconds by 44 minutes, it's hard to say how well, the average child would be able to keep up with that. Now, one question that a lot of people ask me is, do I think the series is being ruined by switching to CG characters as opposed to staying with the marionettes? Now, the inner child in me would get a nice kick out of seeing the marionettes on screen doing their performances, but you have to remember, when Gerry first brought this show to TV half a century ago, that was the best technology he had at the time. And also, Gerry never liked using puppets. His only favourite one was Parker. He actually wanted to use live action, but in regards to today, maybe the 2 to 6-year-olds would be interested in seeing a puppet show, but I think once you get to, say, 7 to 12 years old, they're more interested in seeing something that's a little bit more tangible, a little bit more real, a little bit more plausible. And trying to, take seriously a marionette trying to walk in the same manner that a real live actor would do, a kid's not going to buy into that. Again, those that watch the original show will be into that, but this is not being marketed for my generation, the generation before me, and it's not even being done for the generation that came after me in the 90s and the 2000s. This is for the generation of, 2014, 2015 onwards. This is going to be their thing. But even us older kids are still going to watch it because we love the originals. I mean, when you look back to the amount of times that Thunderbirds has been rescreened, particularly on BBC Two back in the day, in I think it was July or August of '91 when BBC started, made the decision to start rescreening them, it got introduced to such a whole brand new audience that, a whole new generation was getting into Thunderbirds. This time, Thunderbirds being able to be on VHS, be able to have the models, and of course Anthea Turner coming up with a solution to build your own Tracy Island. for next to nothing, instead of camping outside Toys R Us for, such limited supply. I don't think the show is going to be ruined because it's not marionettes. It's in the same. This is the exact same thing that I say to some, not all, to some people that still think that a new version of Knight Rider should be done with David Hasselhoff and the Trans Am. I'm not going to get too much into this, but David Hasselhoff, as great and as in shape as he is for his age, he can't be Michael Knight in the same scope as he was 30 years ago. That's not a knock on David. That's just me telling it like it is. And the Trans Am was discontinued in 2002. Let's just leave that alone. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Thunderbirds Are Go when it's broadcast on April 15, which will be a Wednesday. But no indication as to whether it will be CITV first or ITV1. But it has been said it's going to be on both. So it's going to be interesting to see what we're going to get, because aside from what ITV have shown us, we have seen little to nothing in regards to the filming techniques, how these craft are going to be in motion, how the CG characters and if possible CG vehicles are going to interact with the model sets that Weta Workshop have done for the series. All I know is in 2 months' time we will get all the answers that we're looking for. It's going to be interesting. Until then, signing off from this mission, FAB.